Hello and welcome to the Deep Talk Podcast, a podcast and community dedicated to learning, growing, and connecting more deeply with ourselves and one another. I'm Madison Brandt, your host. Let's get started with this week's Deep Talk. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Talk Podcast. As always, so happy to have you all here. Today I have my dear friend, my lovely friend, Paula on with me today, and she's the perfect person for this topic, and it's about living an authentic life. She is such a unique individual, and she really lives life as her. Even when it's hard, even when it doesn't make sense, she always talks about living as who you are, and she really walks that walk. And so it's really, really the perfect episode if for anyone who feels like they're struggling to fit in society's boxes and its timelines and what its shoulds are, and learning to redefine that for your own self and dive into your authenticity and truth, even if it doesn't look like what other people have, even if it sometimes threatens belonging, because we all want to belong. And recognizing that doesn't mean fitting in, it actually means being who you are and being loved for that. And yeah, I just find this to be a really special episode because I think it's something that we all struggle with, where we hear the narratives of the ways that we're supposed to live, but something else wants to come through us. And we talk about too the piece about surrender that comes with that, of letting go of trying to control it and just taking the steps that we feel in our heart are calling us, even if we can't see what's tangibly at the end result yet, right? And so again, we tie some pieces of that surrender in this, which is really vital, I think, to being who you are and learning how to step out of the box and learning how to follow your vision. So just for anyone who feels like they are on a unique path, a creative path, an entrepreneurial path, or are just feeling like sometimes you don't fit in, learning how to accept yourself and be authentic and step outside of the box can feel hard, but it's also so necessary. And we're with you. And I just hope you like this episode and it encourages you to keep being who you are, even if there isn't a blueprint for that. There's not supposed to be. And I'm excited for you to keep stepping into who you are. So, with that, let's dive into today's episode. And I'm excited for you to meet my pal. Hi, everyone. I'm with my dear, dear, dear friend, Paula, and I'm just so excited about this episode. And Paula, thank you for being here with me today and spending your Friday almost evening with me doing this. So,
My
yay.
absolute pleasure. I love you
Yeah,
so much.
I love you
It's
so
an
much.
honor to be here with you today.
I know. Yay. We talked a little bit before about how we did a previous episode together, and that was in a very like different season of life. And I feel like you and I, every single time we talk, we have different hair. Like your hair is buzzed, my hair is like I have bangs. Like we're in different seasons. We're thinking about different things, and it's like this season of life has been so. I feel like for both of us, like beautiful, but also like murky and like I don't know, so many weird things. It's also been like for both of us, I'm like a little tragic at points and like beautiful in all the things. And so I just yeah, it feels good to be talking in this moment. I feel like we both have a lot to say, um, even if we are still trying to figure so much out. So I'm
Oh, yeah.
excited. Mm. Um, well, maybe before we dive into everything, let's talk about how we met a little bit, just so people have a little bit of a background. Do you want to tell the story, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I would love to. Well, one day in 2020, right?
Holy shit! Have we been friends for almost like 6 years? Oh my god, your grandfather then. That's crazy. Okay, yeah. Wow.
2020, I had purple hair
Mm-hmm.
and a different kind of nose ring, and I was posting TikToks in my garden on a regular basis. And one day I received a very sweet direct message on Instagram from Madison. And I felt called to ask, where in the world are you, Madison? And it turned out that she was only 2.5 hours south of where I was living at the time. And so we made plans to get together one day. And I remember I drove out to see you, and we spent like 10 hours together on our very first friend date. And it felt like 5 minutes. And we talked about everything and nothing. And it was kindredship at, at first sight.
Yes, and I just remember us sitting in that park, like, talking about so many things. I don't know if I'll keep this in the episode, but we were both like, "Are we bisexual?" We were figuring out so much, and, I just remember seeing you on social media, and like, I didn't think that someone with long purple hair was literally living in the state that I'm living in, which is just it makes sense because we're both, like, little aliens in the state we live in.
Mhm.
But I just saw your stuff and I felt like you were talking in ways I had never felt like the people around me were speaking to, in ways that I wanted to speak to someone. And so I don't know, I had never really like messaged anyone before. Now I do that with this, but that was like really uncomfortable for me to do that. But I was like, I have to. And I remember showing my mom, I was like, this girl's so cool. Like, she's like, yeah, like message her. I was like, no, like, yeah. And then I did, and I'm so happy I did. And I think that like I really think we would have crossed paths regardless, no matter what.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm so grateful that you did.
I'm grateful. Yay. So that's how we met. And then again, before we dive in, do you want to share a little bit? I know this question is the worst, but a little bit about maybe not who Paula is, but what it's like being Paula.
Ooh.
I always am like, what's in that brain?
Yeah, I like that question. I feel like that may be the first time that anybody has ever asked me what it's like to be me. Hmm. I feel as though within this body and mind of mine, there is a whole world of its own and a lot to discover, a lot to explore, new questions that emerge on a daily basis, and a profound connection to the divine and to wonder, and a very strong pull to love and to be loved and to follow whim and to connect with nature and other lovers and to find a way to give meaning to the things that make me feel something in this world, whether it's a bird on a branch or meeting you for the first time or just the small synchronicities that I get to experience on a daily basis. There's a lot of yearning, a lot of dreaming, a lot of tears of joy alongside tears of deep grief. And I feel like to be Paula in this world is to be a sorcerer, an alchemist, an artist, and just a soft being who wants to be seen, heard, and felt while I see, hear, and feel others.
I loved that. And don't forget a writer if you didn't say that. A
Oh,
fantastic
yes.
one.
Yes, I feel like I touched on that very abstractly, but in more tangible words, I do write.
You wrote, I screenshotted it from your article. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. I'm an alive, full of desire, pulsing light driven, pleasure motivated, restful, seeking, curious tendril, delicate dollop, full throttle rebel, open jaw, awe having, writer, healer, alchemist, feeler, dreamer, in touch with her yearning, deep listener, storyteller, starter of many firsts. Fire igniter, wishful thinker, full to the brim with hope, ears full of magic, tender touching, mother lover, toes in soil, laundering in lavish luxury of self unraveling, keen spirited. I'll finish it up so people don't have to hear me keep talking. But receive the blessings of abundant waters, woman who will whimsically, wishfully, whole of herself, wholeheartedly singing, and then what we'll talk about today. Um, but yeah, I loved that. And when I read that, I was like, yeah, all of those things. I loved it. So,
Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, thank you for writing it. I was like, oh my goodness. Well, let's talk a little bit about your journey this last year, if you feel comfortable, of just being moved from Spain to here.
Mm.
Maybe you want to start before Spain, during, after, but kind of your wanderings to where you are now, your 2 feet planted here.
Mm. That is such a big question.
Yeah, I guess maybe like kind of just share where you've been and what you've been up to in the last year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this time last year, I was full of a longing that I didn't quite understand yet. And I was living in my hometown with my family, and I was in a long distance relationship,
Mm.
and really wanting to feel new things and see new things. And this led me to answer the call of going to Spain, which is a place that I've always wanted to go. Not only has it always been on my heart, but my ancestry runs through there. And so
Mhm.
I always knew that going would give me insight to deeper parts of myself. And so in September of last year, I ventured out there solo for 3 months and with no real direction at all except for the place. And I really wanted to set out to simply be and feel and observe and immerse myself in a new culture, um, one that is at the same time foreign but also lives within me.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the same time, I think I had a really different view of what my near future would look like, because I was very in love at the time. And my then boyfriend came to join me about midway through my time there. And in result, we uncoupled. And I got to experience great depths of grief in a foreign country by myself. And I got to feel a new depth of feeling, one that I think I had been asking for, but I didn't quite understand how it was going to find me. And when it did, it absolutely cracked me open in such a way that since then I have uncovered a newfound capacity to love and be loved. And my heart explodes every morning with the truth that I came here to love and be loved, no matter what, no matter who, no matter when. Um, and I feel like since that moment, I've been unlocking new doors with new keys. Like every day, I find a new way to experience love. And I came back to the States in December. So winter was kind of a difficult time to be heartbroken and cold at the same time. But it made me that much more resilient. And now I just feel this wide open expanse before me, like I'm in this gorgeous field that says anything is possible. All you have to do is choose it.
Mhm.
And some days I'm overwhelmed with the potentiality of what could be. And other days I feel incredibly rooted in my present moment. So for now, I am in the state where my family is, where I am loved, and I'm serving tables at a cafe, and I'm writing, and I'm hosting guided meditations and sound healings for my local community here. And I am dreaming up the next move, whatever that may be.
It sounds so poetic, like, hearing you be like, "I'm, writing and, like, serving," like, I feel like it's perfect. I feel like one day you're gonna look back and be like, "That was perfect." Even though it can feel like, "Why am I still in my hometown?" Like, I just think um, it's like the story, like, if you're listening to or watching a movie, it's like the story unfolding of anyone who become great, um, serving tables, writing,
Yeah,
that's where it starts.
deeply devoting to the vision despite
Mhm.
the things that feel like a contradiction. And I also feel like whenever I listen to a podcast about becoming your best version of self or following your dream, I
Yeah,
always hope to hear about someone who began in an unlikely place.
me too.
And very rarely do I hear about people who are, baristas or who work at a restaurant or who do like maintenance jobs or whatever. And
Yeah.
I always hope to find souls who are, I don't know, that their journey has led them to do work that not necessarily aligns completely with their soul, but grants them the contrast that they need in order to continue forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's hard sometimes, and we were talking about this a little bit before when you, first of all, when you have to make money, and sometimes in like a human world, like you have to do what you have to do to be able to pay rent, to be able to eat, to be able to have a car, to be able to do basic things that you need to do, even if those things suck your soul a little bit. It's kind of like the debt you are paying in order to have your dreams, and knowing it's just a meantime thing. Um, but it kind of points to our conversation a little bit about how, which is what it's like when you are in a space where you know it's not where you're going to end up, because you feel so deeply of knowing where that is and like what that is on some level. Um, and just again, being in that gap of your 3D not reflecting what you know to be true. Um,
Hmm.
and how that can be hard, even if your life is beautiful, and even if you find meaning in it, to feel that feeling, that dissonance a little bit.
Yeah, totally. It's a very strange happening to live in a day to day that you maybe even like, because I do really love my life. And
Mm,
though serving tables isn't what I came here to do, I do find great meaning in it. And I do have
yeah,
very magical experiences and chance encounters in my workplace. And I appreciate it for what it gives me and for what it has to teach me. And sometimes I feel like when we get caught up in what we don't yet have, what isn't yet here, we miss the fact that we're on a stepping stone there. And
yeah,
that very likely this part of the story won't repeat itself, because it never
Mm-hmm.
does. And so there's so much beauty to be had and
Mm-hmm.
felt, even
Yeah.
if and when what you're doing on the day to day doesn't feel like it's totally the thing that your heart yearns for and knows is true.
Yeah. I always think about when you used to say to me, like, nothing doesn't happen. And that was always like, I was like, ah, no. But yeah, it's hard. And I always think about that conversation we've had where we both find ourselves in places where we feel so like we almost don't connect to, like, we connect to we like our lives, but we don't connect to some parts of it where you're like, I'm so wired for connection or love or whatever. But at the same time, I don't have that in my current 3D reality. And I can find myself just being like, oh my gosh, like sometimes I'm like, how do I feel? Like I feel it so deeply. And I'm like, then it must be true that this is meant for me. But it's so strange that life has put me in so many situations where it's just not there for me, or it feels out of reach, or it feels like it might never happen. Um and it's interesting. It really leans on trust and faith. Um if you're spiritual at all, to learn how to trust how you feel and trust what you know, even if you don't see it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. It can be hard though. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And I really do feel like more often than not, we're given those spaces and those people and those circumstances as gifts and lessons along the way.
Yeah.
There's always something there for us that we can learn to integrate so that we are better prepared for that thing that we know belongs to us when it does
Yeah.
arrive.
Having the co-creation again of like you having your dreams and desires and the things that you want and the things that you're working toward, as well as like the lack of control that we have, and that God universe might have a different plan for us, that as we're walking it might change and it might not be exactly how we pictured it, and having trust that that's actually it working out even if it's not our way. And so surrender has been like, I feel like just such a deep part of my last few months, even though I'm struggling with it for sure. I feel like I have the path I'm walking and I'm following my intuition, which I do think on some level is God, but I also have had a lot of things I've been working toward that hasn't worked out, or I've been steered into different directions. And that's when I kind of have to lift my hands up and just be like, maybe that's what it needs to be right now. And maybe I need to um, keep following my path and letting myself be redirected, and like keep continuing my relationship with God. I don't know, I'm curious about your relationship with being in surrender, being in the fucking abyss of wonder and like darkness and hole where you're like, ugh, and just figuring it out with God and not doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really feel like it is an ongoing practice. You
Yeah.
know, surrender isn't something that you wake up one day and say, okay, I choose to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commitment, you
Yeah.
know, it's a way of life and a way of belief, really. And I think
Yeah.
ultimately, life will give us all many moments to feel frustrated and lost and down bad and in pain, and suffering is a part of the human experience. But I think that when we give ourselves the gift of the simple knowing that oftentimes our thinking mind
Mm-hmm.
is quite limited in understanding everything else that is working out behind the scenes. And I think our human selves do their very best at trying to figure out the formula to achieve or have or be whatever it is that we want.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, something greater is at play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, it's really been about honoring that truth, even when it's all that I have. Because I love to understand why things are the way that they are. I love it. And when I don't have that, I can easily spiral. But when I come back to the simple truth of that, it's all working out for my highest good, even when I don't understand how. That's when you let God in. And I feel like one of my earliest lessons along the way that I recite to myself as a mantra present day is uncertainty is where faith lives and God comes to visit.
Yeah. What do you do when you feel like in that uncertain, mucky like space, do you find yourself wanting to like push on it too? Or do you like is that when you let go? Or like what goes on in your brain, the Paula brain, when you're like in the muck and the ugh, like the I don't know what's happening?
I think it really depends on the situation for me,
Yeah.
the gravity of the grief or discomfort
Yeah.
that comes with it. I think usually, though, at least first, I do feel a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And I've learned to name that urgency as me just wanting to do my best to take care of myself and to love myself.
Yeah.
And when I notice myself really playing into that and kind of getting lost in the strategy of it all, I really like to pray,
Hmm.
and I like to go to nature, and I like to talk to the sky, and I like to talk to trees, and I like to just like let it all go.
Yeah.
Um, and to get out of the way, like to remind myself that the more that I try to put my hands in the cake, like the more I'm just messing it up. So meditation and prayer are a part of my daily practice. And when I'm going through something that feels really murky, I
Yeah.
feel like I just offer that up. I say to God, you know what? This is none of my business. The how of this resolution, none of my business, because if it were, I know that you would have given it to me by now, or I know that you would give it to me in some time, and maybe you will. But for now, I have no fucking clue. As such, it's not my problem. It's
Yeah.
yours. So I'll move out of the way and I'll let you handle this one.
Yeah.
I feel like I get pretty playful and pretty sassy with um, the creature in the sky and my angels and guides. And I feel like honesty is also very liberating, like not upholding this front or idea that I have it all together, that I have all of the answers. Sometimes the most liberating thing is saying, I don't know. I've never known less than I know in this moment.
Yeah. That's what we're saying this week. We're like, and I think too, like, since we both are taking very creative paths, and I think being a form of an artist, like, there's just a lot of different paths you go on because life teaches you stuff so you can teach like others, as well as just like a creative path takes a lot of different turns. And I think that like we might sometimes have more of those spaces than sometimes we might notice of others around us because we have committed to a bit more of a creative, not necessarily linear path.
Yeah, there's no blueprint for what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. And I want to talk to you about that because you know that I struggle a bit with that. And it's always been my like toggling between like life's society blueprint, like what my friends are doing, what the people I see around me doing. We live in a state that has, I mean, there's a general blueprint, I think, across the world. There's like different umbrellas, like worldwide, nationwide, And definitely in our state, there's a certain blueprint of how to live life. I find it is very much 9 to 5. I think that white picket fence plays in. I think like people in our state get married very early and oftentimes get married to like their high school or college or that person to them. I think that we definitely have an energy of like, I don't know. There's like a lot of certain kind of people. Like there's a certain kind of vibe to where we live. We're in the Midwest, so it's a little bit more of that Midwestern energy, if you're familiar. And so I think that that being there, it can be felt, even if it's not yours. Like I feel it in my body because it's everywhere, and at the same time, I feel like my own constant calling from inside my own house that
Mm-hmm.
like never shuts up. I wake up, I feel it. I go to bed, I feel it. I call you and I feel it. I cry and I feel it. I lay on the floor and I feel it. I I like am indebted to this like in the best way. Like I can't not follow it. And so it's really hard and I'm still navigating it, but just like the dissonance of like this is how the world tells you to show up, but this is how I want to show up,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling that pain because we all want belonging, but then at the same time being like, I kind of have to step a little bit outside of that more universal belonging because it genuinely will hurt me more if I don't do what's inside of me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would be accepted and completely like empty. So, um, what are your thoughts on the boxes and how do the boxes affect you or not affect you? Um, affect you being Pal? And what do you think about them?
Yeah, I hear you in all of that. And for me, I feel like there's a very stark knowing of what
Mhm,
is not mine, of what is not for me,
mhm,
of what I am not interested
mhm,
in what does not call me. And the boxes have never quite appealed to me. I can't say that there's any one in particular that feels like a wholesome fit. Maybe a part of myself that feels comfortable, but only in such a way that I would have to exist in fragments rather than in my
mhm.
wholeness to belong to them.
Yeah.
And it can at times feel very lonely and very ostracizing. And I sometimes put myself in the box of otherness in order to understand and relate to the majority, because the spaces that I am a part of, I feel very unlike the people who surround me in the things that we think about, talk about, and even how I have dreams where others may not.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I honestly feel a little weird, a little bit unreal. And sometimes that feels empowering and enlightening, and other days it feels like I'm the only person in the world.
Mm,
But I know that's not true. I know that my unique callings are there for a reason. And honestly, when I think about the majority's timeline and their blueprint, me da hueva. And that's a Spanish saying for the closest translation I could find is like, it just bores me. You know,
yeah.
it makes me lazy in the face of it. It does not inspire me or evoke excitement of
Mhm,
any kind.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I've never felt like I think I've said these before, as like, I don't want those things, and I think you might feel a little differently than I do, but I felt like sometimes I wish that I was the kind of person that did, because feeling the pain of not fully belonging, or even like I definitely can give off the vibe that I do because I am surrounded by that, but I also am in those spaces and don't feel there's always a little piece of me that feels a little like, ooh,
Mhm.
isn't the same. So sometimes it sounds nice to be in the box just to not feel the pain of being out of the box. Um, but I also know that living a life like that would have not the meaning that I want to carry, and it wouldn't be as grand and great. And so I wonder if it's ever going to be something where that feeling goes away, or if it's a dance that I'll always have to live with, because it's a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the box is a cage. And I think that you and I are both birds.
Yeah, I need to make us a little poster of us as little birds flying. Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
But I
Mhm.
understand where you're coming from when you say that sometimes you wish you wanted that. And I feel like we've talked about this before,
Yeah.
that I feel like the truth that lives underneath that statement is really, I want to belong, which we all want to belong. And we all inherently do belong by way
Mhm.
of existing on this earth.
Mhm.
Um, but of course, when we feel unlike the societal structures or standards or systems that have been created and followed and replicated for eons,
Mhm.
of course, that can make us feel like something is wrong with us or something about us just doesn't quite fit the bill. But I think that anything and anyone truly great had to first be audacious in the pursuit of what they knew in their hearts, regardless of if it had been done before.
I was thinking the whole time you were talking, I was like, someone has to go first. Someone has to go first if we want to like build a space community. I think that's a big part of why we do what we do. It's like we love what we do, but we also want to create space for people to feel what like accepted in the way that and like the way that we're moving, and like Paula's secret third way that she talks about.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like when you dare to live your life, as in the life that speaks to you, calls to you, feels resonant to you, you not only create the most authentic container for yourself and your existence, but you also, by means of doing so, show people that there is another way. You know, when you dare to say, as a woman in this society, I don't think I want kids. Or, oh, marriage? That's an outdated societal construct rooted in the patriarchy. You know, that does something. Like that sends a ripple of a different consciousness and way of being out into the world. And some people have never considered anything other than what they've been told to do. So it's a way of living in integrity with yourself, but also in service to the world that needs a different way to go forward because we're not the only ones.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it takes to not live in the box from yourself?
I think it requires honesty and audacity and resilience.
Heavy on the last one. I used to really think the word resilience meant that, like, I didn't think I was resilient because I struggled and would struggle for like long periods of time. And now I'm like, oh, that's resilience. It's learning how to keep moving even when it's hard, even when it's like it's hard and like difficult and confusing. Like, um, yeah. It's learning how to be honest for a long time or over and over is
Mm.
it's fucking hard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving accordingly to what you know, even if and when you cannot see it around you.
Faith, audacity, honesty, resilience, and a little bit of faith, or a lot of bit of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. What has it been like for you? This is kind of a big question. But like, how has it been for you living out of the box in Paula's world of creativity and feeling and everything? Like, you really live very differently than a lot of people that I know, which comforts me. But I also know it's beautiful, and I know it's also it can be hard at times for you. And so, what is it like in your brain most days, being you and taking a different path and dreaming a different path?
Mm-hmm. I love being me. I love being me even when I don't quite know what that means. And sometimes I feel like I come up against some pushback or some, like general confusion. Like people don't always know what to do in my presence or like how to relate to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes that really stings. It depends on the day, but sometimes it's enough to bring me to tears. And other days, it roots me right back into my vision.
Yeah.
And it's almost like anytime I walk into a space or meet someone where I just know this isn't it, it just brings me right back to the heart of it. And any harshness that I've experienced in the world that has to do with me not wanting to stick to the status quo has only brought me closer to the life that I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worth it to me. And I've had to make really big decisions time and time again.
Yeah.
Ones that usually nobody else is around to see, witness, or applaud. But I know in all of the little ways that I live my life, I am living authentically. And sometimes that means I walk alone. And sometimes that means I eat alone. And sometimes that means that it's just me. And sometimes that hurts like hell. And other days I know that it's okay and that my solitude is a gift, even when it hurts. And that even though I haven't met my people or the places where I really feel like not only I am me, but I am me and I am seen and
Yeah.
adored for that. Um, but I think living in this way has allowed me to arrive at that confession of that is what I want.
Yeah. Do you
And
feel like do you feel in your current life like the way you're living like do you feel like a sense of freedom or like
I do. Yeah, totally. I feel completely unbound.
yeah, it's inspiring, yeah.
I'm really curious what it's like for you being someone who lives in such close proximity to so many people who are living the status quo, for lack of better words. And to simplify this concept, what is that like for you to be in close-knit community with these people when you don't necessarily feel like you want or dream of the same things?
Yeah. I think first of all, I think I have a lot of different friends for different things, and a lot of my friends are people I grew up with. Um, I'm someone where I enjoy having deep friendships and people who are more wellnessy and soulful and whatever, but I think part of me also finds peace in the people that are not doing what I'm doing. Sometimes it helps me ground myself, but at the same time, sometimes it can make me feel strange, or like when you're around people who aren't doing what you're doing and you're like, oh shit, should I be doing that? And then I can find myself being around those kinds of people even though I do love them, and it's a commitment that I'm making,
Mm-hmm.
being friends with people who are different than me. But
Mm-hmm.
um, it can it's hard for me sometimes feeling like I'm not on their timeline or not living in their blueprint. And like when you have community, you want to grow with them. And I want to like, it'd be amazing if one day I could like get married at the same time as them and have kids at the same time as them if I wanted that. Or if like we have similar parallel lives with what we're doing for work, or like to be able to feel like you're a part of something and also relate to parts of it makes you feel closer with people. And so I think it's just something I've had to learn to accept, and to have places and outlets where like you or other people that I feel like are doing more creative things to have those spaces. And then when I'm in those other spaces, I honestly, it's kind of weird, but I practice like a lot of like parts work while I'm physically with people who are different than me, and reminding myself that like I'm going to be loved by myself no matter what, even if I'm not doing the same thing as them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I don't know. I think that I'm doing everything that I can to feel okay in a world where I don't know if it was necessarily made for me all the time. And I don't know if I'll be able to ever remove like the grip of society and the feelings that come from that. Like I just feel like if that wasn't how society was, I wouldn't feel that, but I feel it really strongly. But it feels like a wave crashing into me that's not like within my own system. Um, so I don't know. I think I just manage the best I can by living my life and doing what lights me up, and talking to the parts of myself that feel rejected and loving them anyway, and encouraging myself forward, because I have something within me that brings me to what I want to do, and I can't really I can't escape it, but I also am choosing not to. And so if I'm making that choice, I am working on choosing it and just coping with the negative parts that come with it, because there are benefits of belonging. I could do those things and I would look great on the outside, but I would soon feel so bad on the inside. And so the
Yeah.
trade for authenticity, I feel like can oftentimes be belonging, but that doesn't mean you're never going to belong. And it also doesn't ever mean that, I guess it also doesn't mean there's not negative parts of it. You have to accept that when you take this path, there will be, and you can find ways to cope. So,
Also, is it really belonging if you have to be someone that you're not in order to belong? To me, that sounds like fitting in.
yeah.
Belonging means you get to
Mm,
be who you are and be
yeah.
loved and seen and heard and felt and understood for it. Or at least you have people around you who want to understand where you're coming from, even if they're coming from somewhere else.
Yeah. I think it's too like finding like that your space of belonging might be smaller. Like you might just have a little niche group of people, or you might be in a little community that accepts you. I think I'm not going to be widespread accepted by every single person I meet. We're going to probably freak some people out. I think sometimes your courage pokes on other people's comfort. I think that other people can feel what you're doing and don't want to be around you. And I think sometimes their comfort pokes on your own courage. And I think it's um, hard both ways. But yeah, I think you will find belonging. It just might not be by society. When I think of that, I'm like, what even is that? I'm not even thinking of a
What
certain
even
person.
is society?
I'm thinking of a vibe. I'm thinking of a vibe. And I'm like, I don't even have a face. I mean, I guess maybe a few people from my high school. This next year, like, is there anything you want to create or any ways you want to move forward and how you're feeling or working on, or just like what's ahead for you?
I have no fucking idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is that okay?
Yes.
I can't wait till we're in like our 30s or 40s. But honestly, I feel like knowing us, we're gonna be like going down so many windy paths then too, and not knowing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So
It feels good to say it. I don't know.
I feel like I need to say I have no fucking. When someone like asks me that, for my grandma, or like, well, actually, not my grandma. She can't hear me say that. But if somebody asks me that, I think I'm just gonna look at them stone cold and go, I have no fucking idea. I think we
But,
need that. That
but it's
honest,
not, I have no fucking idea. It's, I have no fucking idea.
like in a happy way,
Woo!
and being excited.
Woo!
Yes, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes. CoStar told me to live in the fog because that's where my next move hides. And that's been something I am thinking about constantly of like, I always thought that the uncertainty was just like the worst place ever, but it's actually where everything good lives and everything, all the possibilities and everything that we ever want. And so we don't know now, but I know that like so much is going to be unveiled for us in these next years. I literally can't wait to see the books that you write and whatever happens to this podcast. And I like the idea of like following what lights you up now in your vision, and also knowing that like it might change a lot, but the overall like goal of like what we're here for and the feeling we're trying to meet and like the part of us we're deeply trying to express might be like, it might be through a different medium and not what we thought, but it's going to be met, I think, regardless. If I end up not doing my podcast, maybe I'm a documentary making documentaries, or maybe I'm writing a book, or maybe I'm a musician or whatever. But if my goal is to be fulfilled and creative and connecting, then I know that like my heart will meet me there in whatever platform it is, and God will meet me there. In
Mm-hmm.
return. So I think the same for you,
Yeah.
especially in years where we're like figuring everything out.
Yeah. The essence of the dream, of the vision, stays true, is
Yeah.
the anchor that is unmoving in a sea of change
Did you write that?
right now.
You need your book of the Paula book of quotes. But yeah, I have so much hope for what's next, and I still feel kind of scared about it, like if things are going to work out. But I think it's not really about, when I ask that question, I think I'm holding tightly to it working out my way, and I just know that it's going to work out in the greater sense, as long as I keep doing like putting my step in, and then knowing that God's going to meet me back and like not going to let me not be steered where I need to be. So that's the plan, is just to wake up tomorrow and
Yeah.
try.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, if I'm really, really honest with myself, I don't want to have it figured out.
That's okay.
Imagine actually knowing what happens in the next 5 years or 10 years or 20 years down the
Yeah.
line. I don't want that. I live for the thrill of it. I am moved by the mystery.
Yeah.
That is what keeps me going. That's why I stay alive, is because there are so many things that I don't know. And I also think that the more you think you know something, the less you actually do. Because once you think you have it, quote unquote, figured out, you're just closing yourself off from seeing it in a different way, in a new way that you had never seen before. And I like to err on the side of the idea that even what I want, even in my wildest dreams, God has something so much better.
Mhm. I know. I always think about that dumb little picture that you've probably seen floating around on the internet of like the little, and maybe we talked about this before, like holding like the little teddy bear in front, and the kid is like, I want that one, and then God, which is like the bear holding like the or whatever, holding the big bear behind the back, and it's like, you don't know what I got in store for you.
Mhm.
Um,
Jesus, right?
maybe it is Jesus in that picture.
Yeah.
Uh, but I always think about that. We're always going to want the things that we want because we can think of them, they're tangible. But I just think that there's so much better ahead, and keep trusting that. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that also makes me think of this quote that I've seen online so many different times, and it's the one that goes, God never says no. They only say, not yet, or I have something better.
Yeah. And the only way that won't come true is if you keep holding on and trying to force what you have now. Like I think about it like if you're dating somebody that you know not isn't right for you, it's either going to be this or it's going to be something better. And sometimes you're in that in between where you don't have the something better yet, but as long as you are willing to keep walking the journey, that's absolutely the only option for you. As long as you aren't clinging so tightly to the past or what's not
Hmm.
for you anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're figuring it out. And again, like I truly feel like for me at least, like every time I arrive, like I love the arrival and I want to be more grateful for the arrival. But I think the most fun part to me is the creation and like the play and the building my podcast versus like the arrival of where I want it to be. It's nice to have a goal and I think it feels good for a while, but I think that the main part of being here is just like the process and
Hmm.
becoming through it. It's like my favorite part. So I don't
Yes.
think I want to figure it out necessarily either.
Yeah. And a nice reframe that I have found helpful on my journey is instead of having such a tight grip around the physical manifestation of your desired outcome,
Yeah.
getting excited about the new questions and the new
Mhm.
challenges that will emerge from
Yeah.
that place.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that.
my best friend just got her dream role in her dream movie, and she's been telling me about what it's like her first few days in rehearsal and all of the ways in which she's already being asked to grow and stretch in newfound ways, in ways she's never done before. And every time we land someplace that we've prayed to get to, a new set
Mhm.
of questions and challenges arrive with them. And so lately in my journals, I've been writing a lot about my eagerness for new questions. I feel like I've had a lot of the same core questions for the last few years of my life, and I'm just so excited for new ones.
Yeah. I know. I get like bored, like I calling my mom the same. I'm like, so what do you think about this? And she's like, honey, you've heard this for so fucking long. And to go off of that, I remember there's a girl when I was doing dating relationship coaching. She talked about how she got to a point in her life, and this is about relationships, but it applies to all of your life. She goes, I got to a place in life where I felt like I had done all the work on myself that I had to do. And then I was ready for a relationship. And, I felt like that in so many ways in life, whether it's dating or uh, anything, where I feel like I've gotten to a point where I have learned and I'm ready for something. And then life doesn't give it to me the way that it did for her. And I find out that I actually had so much more to learn in ways that I never even knew I had to learn. Like I'm learning things right now that I can't even. I thought I was good, like to a certain level, and I'm learning things right now I never ever could have imagined that
Mhm.
I would be learning or that I needed to learn. And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for them because I know they're setting me up for a life ahead of me, but they are so not what I could have even thought up. So I'm
Yeah.
sure the future will be the same with what it gives me versus what I'm learning. So yeah.
Yeah. It's like that thing you dream of, it is meant for you. But if it was time for you to have it, you would. And so
Yeah.
there's reason and purpose for your present moment and lots
Yeah.
to learn.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you have any words for anyone who is maybe where we are? Just trying to keep figuring out what it means to be who we are and not fitting in the box and trying to just go through the muck and figure out life. Like just someone who's creative and feels different and who might feel a little lost.
Hmm. Yeah. What first comes up for me is stay true. No matter what happens, stay true to who you are, to what you desire, to what feels good, to what feels authentic. Stay true to the things that make you come alive and create space and time for them and keep going, even when the external maybe perhaps looks nothing like what the truth of your heart looks like.
Yeah.
And know that all at once you are one of a kind and so special. And there is no one on this earth like you. And that is the greatest gift that you can give to yourself and the world. So own it.
I love it. I love it so much. Ugh. Well, where can people find you and how can they keep connecting with you as a human and your writing and what you're up to, what's coming?
Yeah. Well, hopefully out in the wild, I want to meet more people in real life. I
Mm.
love my online community so much, but it's so special when I get to bump into someone from the online world in real life. So know that I'm so open to that. Please come say hi. And aside from that, you can find my writing on Pow Ponders on my Substack and Liquid Sunshine 222 on TikTok and Paula Suarez Gomís on Instagram, though I am taking 30 days off of TikTok and Instagram for the month of August. So I'll be back after that with some newfound clarity in the way
Yeah,
that I want to direct my energy and attention there.
I love that. Is that just for a refresh or is that like a trend that I don't know of? Like a sober January or something?
No, because I am in such a space of what is going
Yeah.
on, like because I'm standing at the threshold of what I feel to be my new life on the horizon, with so many more unknowns than knowns, I am currently seeking guidance and wisdom and intuitive messages. And a nudge that I received was to log off of social media for 30 days and to create more space and time for those messages to come through.
Yeah, that's good to have. And you'll have time to like go on walks and be in nature and connect the way you need to. And yeah, because there's so much stuff on TikTok. I feel like it's so good to have that space. And you live in a place where it's just very, it'll give you that. It's beautiful. So I
Yeah.
hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, there's value in shutting off the opinions and advice and insight of everybody else around you and tuning back into to self.
This,
All
this.
the answers are in here.
It's like a muscle we have to work just as much, the tuning. So,
Yes.
well, thank you for being here and dealing with the mess of this podcast and the technology problems and everything. But just know that I love you and that I believe in you. And I think that you, like I texted you, have a like individuality and magic about you that is just so important and like nothing that I know and have seen. And again, like you could do nothing for the rest of your life and it would be like so important because of who you are. So I just am grateful you're here and for making me feel less alone and weird on the days where I feel especially those things. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on and for creating the time and space to share together. And I also want anyone listening to know that Madison, like myself, came to this world to love and be loved. Love her. Love her because she's so lovable.
That's so cute. I'm gonna cry. Thank you.